Leela McCants is still living, her mother was Fanny McCants. But I don't know whether, but I think she is a sister to my grandmother, which would be Arabelle.
You're saying Fanny was the sister?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether my mother will know to tell you or not. When you go to see Mother, you ask her about Fanny McCants, Aunt Fanny.
Oh, I think you gave me that information.
Well, there's another Aunt Fanny. Breon, Miller side or Breon side?
I don't know about that. I just know that...
The Aunt Fanny that lived in Hedrick was...
Oh, that was Aunt Fanny, yeah, she was, yes. That was Grandma's sister.
Iowa's sister.
Aunt Fanny Bond.
Okay.
And that's spelled B-A-U-G-H-N.
Okay, now there's a Charles Bond that I came across. You know who he is?
Yes, he is Aunt Fanny Bond's sister, or brother. No, Aunt Fanny Bond's son.
Okay.
Is this running now?
Yeah.
I'm wasting some time.
No, that's right.
Yeah, he is, there was Charlie and Paul and Nola in Aunt Fanny's family. But that Blanche can tell you all that. She knows all that. Because she lived right in Hedrick. And, but this Fanny McCants I'm talking about, Aunt Fanny, I believe my mother's sister was Fanny, and she married a McCants. And there's a Leela McCants that would be her daughter, that lived. If I look in one of my old old address books, I might find it. Do you want to turn this off till I find it? Till I look? I might, and then. I must try and find that address book of Mom's. I bested Leela.
Did you say she was living in Gladysville?
I thought so, but I could be mistaken. But if I find her address or her name, I'll have an address where I was to visit her. She's got a Robert Heinlein down here at Joliet, Illinois.
I don't know anything about the address.
And he and his wife committed suicide. They think that he shot her and then shot himself. And he is, Robert is, whose boy?
I've got a Fred.
That's,
Hattie.
yeah, Fred. Hattie,
Hattie William, which was Genevieve's father.
yes.
A Grace and a Roy.
That's Roy's boy, I believe. Roy Heinlein's boy.
Roy died in 37.
Here I've got my Leela. I have Leela. It's Leela Hocker, Hocker, 330 East Washington Street, Macomb, Illinois, 61455.
We're going to Macomb.
You see if you can find that. It's here in two different places. She saved this little tag off of the letters. Now then, if I can find anything else in here that's interesting for you. Merlin, do you have a Merlin McHenry? Here I am going over from one thing to the other, but I'm getting her addresses. Merlin McHenry is Twalla's brother. And he,
I thought, okay, that's right. Well, that's what
he committed suicide. Now, I don't know whether she'll tell you that or not. Now then, here's another, and I'll tell you, if you don't find it under Leela Hawker, her husband's name was Francis Hawker.
Okay.
Wasn't Hattie's boy? No, Hattie's daughter's name Cosner.
I don't know.
Well, there's an address here, and Berthoud's where they lived, and that's where Hattie was in the nursing home. So there's an R.W. Cosner, but they're both dead, I understand, but that is a Cosner, all right. There's names in here that I don't recognize, and they could be friends of mother. Oh, Aunt, my dad's sister, oldest sister, has a daughter, Mrs. Donald Ritchie of Vermont, Illinois, box 157. And that you could get information on that from her if she's still living. But that's Vermont, Illinois.
We'll
Okay.
be near there.
Then there's I can't figure out this Henry Fisk. It's at Seneca, Illinois. But I have a feeling that's somebody that's somebody's child in the McHenry family.
See, I just don't have a lot of information on the McHenrys except for the one line. And I've been able to take them back.
Well, let's see. Mother has Leela Hawker's name down several times in here.
She must have liked her, huh?
Well, it was a niece, I'm sure it was, and yes, she always liked her. Where's this? I'm just going through her book to see. Please go down to first. The old addresses in Ottumwa, when they lived in Ottumwa, those were addresses. Now that just may be the end of them too. I don't know. There's recipe for pickles in here. And maybe good This doesn't have anymore, I don't believe. Wait a minute now, wait a minute.
Mabel Hameline was the wife of Hamer.
She's the one in the nursing home with Jack's Mabel. Jack Hamer. What'd you say?
Mabel is the one who married Hamer. McKendry.
McKendry, this McKendry. Yes, and she's in the same nursing home as Jack's Mabel is in Macomb, Illinois. And Jack's Mabel's mind is very clear. And she's blind, but if you could go into that nursing home, I have a feeling Jack's Mabel could tell you.
Jack McKendry?
Yes. Jack was my dad's youngest brother. Does she want you to come on? Okay. Jack's Mabel. And she still has someone to write to me now because she can't see to write. And I feel like if you could go in there at that nursing home, that you would be able to find out something.
No, I'm trying to think the thing that she could help me out maybe is information on her mother.
Yeah.
On Mabel's mother? Well, Mabel's mother.
Well, no, on her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law, Harriet Emma Hamer.
Well, I think she'd be able to give you some information. And the other Mabel, which is Hamer's Mabel, why her mind isn't good all the time now. She's not a bit good. They're the ones that just lost that 28-year-old grandson with cancer.
How long they been in the ground?
Well, I don't, let's see, she hasn't been there as long as Mabel, Jack's Mabel. Jack's Mabel went in, I think, about 3 years ago. And, but Hamer's Mabel went in, I don't know whether it's been a year or not.
Do you know what the name of the nursing home is that they're in?
Yes, I have the address and all, and I will give it to you. The way they tell the two Mabels apart, they have them listed.
So they're both Mabel McKendry, right?
They're both Mabel. Jack's Mabel is listed as Mabel L. Mabel L, the middle initial. That's Jack's Mabel, and the one I think can give you more information than the other one. Then the other Mabel is listed as Mabel M. She's the one that married Hamer. The address is South Johnson Road in care of Macomb Manor, room 28, Macomb, Illinois, 61455. Now that is the Hamer Mabel. The Jack's Mabel, I don't have her room number on the address.
Well,
Yes, they'll give it to you right there. So that ought to help you out. Now you were speaking of wanting the address of that, another deal here, of wanting that Miller's address that is a brother to Melvin.
the rich one?
Mm-hmm.
I've got him.
You have it.
I wrote him a
Okay.
letter.
I was wondering Mona's address. I can't recall her name. Well, Blanche could give you that.
Who is Mona? Oh,
That's their mother.
that's-
The mother of the two Melvin boys. Blanche can give, but that won't do you any good because she won't answer you. She won't write you a letter. Uh-huh.
Well, who were who were her brothers and sisters? They're the ones that are still alive? Along with her brothers and sisters? All red?
I don't know anything about her brothers and sisters.
No,
She's
not
the-
her, but her husband. That's right. Thrones,
Oh, now you're thinking of, see, the two Miller boys that's in California.
that's Jacob and Mabel's. All right.
No, Mona's the mother. The mother. Mona doesn't sound right to me. I can't say her first name. I can't. No, this is Melvin. Melvin, and didn't you say Robert? The other Miller boy that was out there.
I've always thought that was
Ramona. I can't quite remember that name.
Oh, I really think we should.
But Lois and Melvin, Lois wrote me and said she wouldn't, this mother of Melvin's would not answer. She don't contact anybody.
You bet.
I don't know if she's in a nursing home or where she really is. Wayne. That's right. Wayne Miller. Wayne's mother is the one. Wayne and Melvin. Well, but if he don't answer you either when you write him, does he? Mhm. And I wondered if you'd even go there, if you would have any information, could get any information, but that's clear down in California. Now, is there anything else that I can...
Well, I wanted to...
Burl? Or
No.
Gary? Gary, you want Gary?
No. I can talk. I'm gonna go through these pictures.
I can tell you the date Mother was put in a nursing home. My mother. The 3rd month, the 13th day of 78.
I thought she was in a lot of sooner than
No.
that.
Mother
That was
was...
like 73 or something.
Oh, no, not my mother. Uh-uh.
So she's only been in there 3 years. In other words, when we went back to see her in 79, she'd only been in there a year.
She went in the 3rd month, the 13th day of 78.
She'd only been in there a little more than a year. Here I thought she'd been in there for a long time.
But now you were in Des Moines to see her.
No, but nothing.
Oh, you went to Tamwa. Well, then that's yeah, she'd only been in there that long. Uh-huh.
When did she go into Des Moines?
Well, I'd have to look that up in her case in here. I've forgotten just when it was. It's been over a year, I believe. Yes, it's been over a year because I went back for her birthday last year, and that's where she was. And it'll be a year in October. And I forget how much longer. I'd have to go in there and look at the case. I can find out by looking in the case, her information.
Now this picture right here is a picture. Isn't that the store in Hedrick? And
Yes,
that's where
we had our business.
and you lived upstairs. Is that
Yes,
right?
yes.
You know, I can remember the upstairs of that a little bit.
Oh, I'll bet you can too, because you were there quite frequently because you came up. Well, then you ought to be able to remember Roscoe and Doris.
No.
We would go past this grocery store and go into the corner store, and Roscoe and Doris was there, and every time they gave you a big ball to play with. And I'd say to them, let me pay for it. No, when you go home, when he goes home, just bring it back. But if you remember that a little bit, that's really something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because,
I remember the Christmas card.
yeah, this was in 58, so how old would you be in 58? And you remember that Christmas?
Yeah.
Why, for land's sake.
You know, just bits and pieces, nothing.
Yes. My dad loved you so much, he would hold you.
Yeah, some pictures of that.
Uh-huh. And, oh, yeah, that's the story. Mhm.
Now this is a picture of Arabelle
Yes,
Charter.
yes, that's my mother's mother.
And then,
And then I don't know, but I kind of think,
that doesn't look like your mom.
oh, it isn't Mother. But I wondered if you would show that to Mother, if she would remember who it was. I kind of wondered if that was some of the McCants. Some of Leela McCants or some of them. They don't, that's so young of Leela. I've
You think
seen,
Garnet might know who it is?
no, I don't think she would, but then you could show it to her.
That's Gary's picture.
Oh, that's Gary's. Well, could you take a picture off of it?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a picture off of it.
And so,
Do you, let's see, when did she die?
well, she was only 66 when she died, and she died of, she was anemic.
She died in 1922 and you were,
Well, from 1911 to 22, as 11.
you don't remember anything about her?
I remember being sick in our front room at home, and Mother was expecting my little sister and my little brother, Gerald, had swallowed turpentine. He had drank turpentine. And I know Grandma was sick in bed in the front room. Mother had put the bed up in the front room for her. And she was there 16 weeks when she passed away. And she got out of bed in order to, and it was quite an achievement for her because she hadn't been able to, she'd been so weak, to come out and tell Mother how to help my little brother Gerald. And Gerald, she told Mother to start pouring cream down him. And she made Gerald drink cream, and that was the way, that's the only thing that saved him, we feel. But I remember Grandma being there, yes.
Where were you living at the time?
Close to Blakesburg Island, between Ottumwa and Blakesburg.
Well, was Arabelle, where did she generally live?
Illinois, Blandonsville.
Was she just visiting you when she got sick?
Evidently. I can't recall when she first, why she came, but evidently she was. Or it can be that she was planning to make her home there. I don't know. I can't remember that, but it might be such a thing that Mother could answer. But I doubt if Mother can answer any of those questions.
Well, William Hainline was around there, wasn't he?
Uncle Bill.
Yeah.
Uncle Bill lived in
And he's
Ottumwa.
the one, I think, that on the death certificate was taking care of the body. So,
Back.
so maybe she came to visit him and just stopped by to see you.
I don't know why Bill would be on it other than Mother at the time, I think, was expecting my little sister. And it could be that's why he was helping her out.
You ever remember Arabelle cooking anything special? for
No,
you?
because all I remember on Grandma was that I saw her very seldom until at that time. Why she was, evidently she would come and make visits, but she had to work for a living because that's the only way that she had any provisions to live. And, but I don't recall, my vivid recollection of her is I can still see her in that living room, in the bed, the big bed. And I remember when my brother Gerald had swallowed that coal oil.
Mhm.
That's what my memory of Grandma was more than anything else.
Did your mom ever say anything about her?
Well, no, Mom never talked an awful lot about Grandma, other than it was her mother, and that she had to work so hard because she had divorced her husband, and Mother had to go to work so very early, so all the children must have had to go the same way. But but I feel like when you get in Illinois, around, if you were in Blandonsville, Illinois, around in there, and Macomb, if you could find Leela, if Leela was still living, I believe that Leela could help you out a lot. But now, I couldn't say if she is or not. Leela has several sisters, but I don't know whether Ruby's still living or not, and what her married name was, I don't know. And then there was a Goldie, and her name was Goldie. I can't say now. She's been gone a long time. In Des Moines, Iowa, the Charter family, as far as I know, there could be. My sister talked to someone in the charter, of the Charters, and he said all the older ones were gone. Now, whether he would be able to give you any information on the Charters, I don't know. But my sister could tell you who she called. It was someone that lived in Des Moines yet.
I've got that written down, so.
Yeah, okay. And I know so little about all that because I left home and when I got married, and part of the time the folks lived in the country, so I was in town, and I wasn't living at home. And when I went to school, the folks lived in the country, and I stayed in town when I went to school.
So you only saw them on the weekends then?
Yeah, then, till they moved to town, they did move in then to town.
How long was this going on?
I think I was in the 10th grade when they moved to town.
For how long did you have to stay in town during the week? I mean, months, years?
In town? It was mostly in town when I started high school, see. And I stayed with a family. He was a minister. Childs was the name. And I stayed with them. Mother and Dad Mother especially never talked too much about her family. Other than she would call them by name, but she never said much about them as a rule. I don't remember saying much. Later years, she talked about the Charter family, and I met them. I even have some recipes from one. But they, of course, didn't last that much longer.
But as far as you know, the Charter line is dead.
Well, unless this one that Garnet talked to could be a niece or a nephew or something of them. I mean, a nephew. It would be a nephew because it was a man I think she talked to. And unless he would have something further to say. There was quite a number of them I thought in the family, and it looks like some of them would be living yet. So.
Well, I'm hoping to work on that also because I don't know much about Charter.
Nellie and Clyde Burke is who lived in town that Mother thought so much of. And I did see them, and I have a recipe from her. And I've been to their home. And so it would be the Burke family, some of the members of the Burke family that might be still living. I don't know. But you ask Garnet what she remembers of finding out. And she told Mother about it.
Isn't this a picture of your father? On the right-hand side? Or is that Jesse Breon?
No, that's not my dad's family.
I think that one on the right is Jesse Breon.
Uh-huh. No, that's not my family.
You said this was Mom and Linda who?
Secrets. That's Grace Hedges' little girl, her oldest daughter. Grace is the one that's going with me on the trip. Yeah, that's Linda.
Hold up on that?
You've known Grace a long time.
Oh yeah, we were across the street from them in Hedrick in business for 18 years. Well, they weren't there that long at that time when we left. We were there before they came.
Does that bring back memories?
Oh yes. That's Dad and I, and you see how his hair was so very curly and thick?
Yeah.
And we soon got that cut differently. We didn't like the way it was cut. And he had so many curls, and he later would just put a lot of water on it to get all those curls, try to lay it down, and he'd work and work at it. And he often said, I wish I'd go bald-headed, then I wouldn't have to fool with hair or get haircuts. I could just wash my head. But he had awful pretty hair. And it was so curly.
Gary's got some of it.
Well, but when I married him, his hair was extremely tight curled. And it was so thick. When the barber would cut his hair, he wouldn't thin it out. And after we were married, we got thinned out. And then it laid down like right, And he'd just go in and get a haircut and pay no attention to it. So, yes, I remember that very well. Yeah. It's there on the same, it's where Blanche lives now.
Is that right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's on the home place there.
That's an interesting picture, I think.
That's my mom and dad and my sister and I, Garnet and I. And Mother has her watch on there. And I think that's the most handsome couple. I think they're pretty.
Her hair looks different. She got it up in the back or something?
Yes, it was long. And she put it up in the back. And I cannot remember when she parted it in the middle, but it is in the middle here. But I can't remember. But my word, I said, aren't they handsome? I think my dad was very, very handsome and Mother was so pretty. And me with those fat cheeks. And my hair was curly there then. It does have a little natural curl in it. Yeah. And Garnet had a thinner face than I did. And those dresses. Oh dear.
What's your first recollection?
Well, you have a picture there of us with our baby carriages. That's my first real. I can think back when we lived on the farm close to Ottumwa. When Christmas time, I remember Christmas time, Mother hiding things from us. We never got too much stuff, but Mother would always plan to have something and hiding it from us. And when they were putting it out for us at Christmas Eve, I remember this one Christmas Eve, Garnet and I came down the stairs and watched him do it, put it out. Now that's probably one of the strongest recollections I have.
You're close, huh?
I remember when we lived in Good Hope, Illinois, and my dad worked at the depot, that we two girls snuck out and went up to the depot, and he was out there pulling carts around with the luggage and stuff on it, and he saw two tow heads going by one of those racks over there, and he knew who it was. Well, we got a good spanking and sent home. Then one time we went to uptown and stopped people and asked them. We said we were poor, we were barefooted, and we needed money to buy shoes. And when my parents found it out, we sure paid for that. And then I remember we went up and charged candy to my dad's grocery bill. Well, that had to be stopped. But the two of us, we were just 18 months apart, and what one couldn't think of, the other one did. I do remember when Mother used to say, we fought, she thought we'd have knockdown and drag-outs, but she just let us go at it. But
That's what I mean by
I remember evidently back when we lived, I was born in Good Hope. So I remember those things, but I can't tell you how old I was when I first, but it was back before I went to school. Some of that was. And then when the Christmas we got the dog luggage, and we had our dog Rover out there, stood between us, and we had our picture taken. We moved from that place, and when we moved, Rover was supposed to follow us, and we lost Rover and never did find him again. And he was such a good black and white shepherd dog. Oh, we moved several times. Dad was working as a clerk at the depot, baggage clerk, and then we started farming. From then on, I remember the day when the armistice was signed. That'd be World War I, 1918, when we were living out in the country. This was after we moved from Illinois into Blakesburg and around the town. Though the armistice was signed, we heard about it. I can't remember how we heard it, unless it was over the telephone line. They must have given a special ring for us to all listen. And my sister and I went out and stood up on the fence and hollered and told everybody that went by the armistice had been signed. I remember that. I remember when we got the old model, or the new Model T Ford, that Mother used some of her money that she inherited from her mother to buy this Ford. And I think it cost a little over $500. It was brand new. And before that, we had just Surrey and with a fringe on top, and it had fringe on top. And in the wintertime, it had side curtains. Oh, I remember all those things. I remember when little Betty was born. Her name was Gracia, but we nicknamed her Betty. But Betty was a little bit retarded, and she passed away at the age of 2. That was my first year of high school. I remember when we had to walk 2 miles to school, and we'd come back through the pasture, come home, and we'd have in the wintertime, the snow would be so hard that we could walk across the fences on the snow. And if it was so we couldn't do that, there was always, Dad would always hitch up the buggy and come and get us. And if we were 5 minutes late coming home from school, well, we got a licking but if the teacher had asked us to clean off the blackboard, well, we'd stay and do that, and we shouldn't do it. We weren't allowed to do that. And I don't think we've gotten so much mischief. I don't think our parents really trusted us too much. And I remember when we could always, Mother could get mad at us, and we could always get her to laugh and get her to chasing us around the table, and she'd forget to even spank us because we'd get her cutting up about it. I remember when she used to go blackberry hunting, and she'd can 100 quarts of blackberries, and I never will forget the one time. She thought, well, I've got enough, but I think I'll go pick some more. And she went out to pick them, and there was a big black snake laying up in one of the bushes. She came back and she said, well, I picked my last blackberries.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't do it anymore because she was so frightened of snakes. And but she would go out and pick those blackberries and can, and imagine 100 quarts of those. Mother was very meticulous about her house. I remember that because even the chicken yard was swept. Everything was scrubbed, even to the toilet every week when she'd get through washing. She'd take the soap suds out and always scrub it. It was white. I remember doing the separator discs. I always hated I had to do the separator, and every other time I'd do it. And I'd try to just rinse them out in the water. And Mother would investigate, and every time I'd have to do them over and do each one separately. And I forget how many discs there was. And,
You were holding out on it.
And I remember the first time I ever dressed a chicken. Mother was canning corn, and she always cut the corn off out in the yard so that she didn't have the mess in the house. And she didn't allow any chickens in the yard when she was doing this. And one got in the yard, and I was chasing it out, and I hit it. It was a young a fryer. And she didn't have time to stop, and she said I had to dress the chicken. I like to never got it dressed. But I managed somehow. I don't suppose I've got all the pin feathers out. She no doubt had to go. And but I had to scald the chicken and pick the feathers off. And I remember that was the first time I ever cut up a chicken and dressed it. Oh, I have a lot of happy memories when we were young. And, I recall when my sister was allowed to date at the age of 16, and I always would say, can I go too? And Dad would tell her I could go too. And I had a friend, Glenn Miller, and he knew that he couldn't come to the house because I was too young. So I'd go with my sister, and she and her boyfriend had stopped at the schoolhouse and picked him up. He'd be waiting. And then we'd all four go. And those were things my dad never knew. I couldn't have gone if I hadn't.
You don't think he...
I'm pretty sure he didn't, or I would have certainly been reprimanded for it.
What do you recall about your dad?
My dad was very strict, but we were always trying to get by him with things, and but it didn't do too well. I know he worked awfully hard and didn't have a lot of money to buy us clothes. I remember when I started to high school, I only had one dress to go into high school, and I would wash it every night. And Mother wanted me to have more, but Dad didn't think they could afford it, and I didn't need it. But Dad always was provided a good table for us. I mean, we had enough food to eat. And I remember that my dad never did any of us ever pick up a sock after him. He always put his things away when he came home from church.